I'm Elizabeth Wallace, and I'm a member of the first class 2008 Rubin Israel experience. I was raised in a conservative home. Being Jewish was always part of my identity, but Israel, I don't think, was something that was always in the front of my mind. Israel was a place that was somewhere that I always wanted to visit, but it sort of seemed kind of far away and not something that was really attainable, or it didn't speak to me as kind of my homeland prior to the trip. Our first full evening in Jerusalem, we had our dinner with the lone soldiers, and our soldiers, 3 of which are from the United States, really became a part of our trip. And to really get to know these young men and understand why they had made the decision to make Aliyah to Israel, and their knowledge of the country and the situations that were there, and how we were able to really spend time with them. We went to one of their apartments and get to really see firsthand what it was like to live in Israel, was really special, and it was a nice connection that the whole group made. Our group began their visit in Jerusalem, and so to come off the plane and to meet Amir for that first time and take that bus ride, and he's showing us where the Maccabees have been buried, and this kind of idea I'd had of Israel, and now here I am in Jerusalem walking amongst, you know, my people. It was a great way to start the trip. Before I went to Israel, I'd heard the expression, Kol Yisrael Aravim Ze LaZe, that each one of us is responsible for each other. But I don't think that I really understood what it meant. And after going to Israel and meeting the people and really getting to see that this homeland exists, but it was inspiring, and it gave me great comfort to know that such a place exists. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that the Rubin Israel experience changed the course of my entire life. My fellow Rubinite, David Wallace, introduced me to his brother upon our return, and we're now married 2 years and have a beautiful little girl named Miriam, who, while we considered naming Ruby, she is a Rubinite at heart. All of us from the inaugural trip feel so fortunate to have been part of your first group of Rubinite children. Thank you, Pam and Ron, for having the vision to create such a program and change our lives in so many ways.
My name is Amy Bender-Levy, and I was fortunate enough to be a participant in the 2009 Rubin Israel experience. Growing up in St. Louis, I belonged to United Hebrew Congregation. I had a bat mitzvah, I was confirmed, I taught at Sunday school. We didn't have a kosher house. What was important to us in terms of Judaism was family traditions. I had really no concept of what Israel could mean to me. So what it actually meant to me was a homeland for Jews. Now it means my homeland. I know when we all had our professional development days, though we were separated as a group, and I had the most amazing experience to meet with a woman at Tel Aviv University who ran a legal clinic, and she went back and forth from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, doing a free legal clinic, helping people resolve their marriages, divorces, and paternities, and that's what I do. And we had the same kind of business, and we had the same clientele, and we lived thousands of miles apart from each other. And how amazing to sit having coffee with her at Tel Aviv University discussing this, and then to continue a relationship over the next few months. And there we were, our first night in Israel, at the wall, pushing our way up and shoving our notes and prayers into the wall, and seeing the divide of men and women and people singing and dancing, and then we walked back. And I will never forget the peaceful silence of Jerusalem on that night as we walked back to our hotel. We went back and had Shabbat dinner, and I mean, how do you top that? Ron and Pam, you literally gave the 2009 Rubinites a gift, and we will never be able to repay you for what you gave us and the experiences you gave us, the friendships that we've made that will last a lifetime. Thank you.
I'm Burt, Garland, and I was fortunate enough to be a participant on the 2010 Rubin Israel experience. My Jewish experience growing up was very limited, to say the least. Unfortunately, I was not bar mitzvahed. I was confirmed through my temple Israel, but I grew up in a very non-religious household, and being Jewish was always emphasized as being important, but I certainly didn't know why it was important. I was just always told to marry somebody from St. Louis who's Jewish. Israel was always sort of a vague, amorphous concept. I knew it was an important place. I knew that many people after the Holocaust had settled in Israel. Didn't realize what it was that was so important about Israel. I think our 2010 group was really special. We really had a great group dynamic. And it was really interesting to sort of see the landscape, meet our first Israelis other than our tour guide and our bus driver, Guy. We got to know the person who sort of walked us through the Israeli biblical landscape, and I think it was just so interesting to see the beautiful landscape, and yet off in the distance you can hear the crackle of gunfire from the military that was training. When we got to Jerusalem, it was pretty interesting. The intention was to do a scavenger hunt through Jerusalem, and I think some members of the group took the scavenger hunt seriously. I was not one of those. We pretty much hit the shuk right away and really just kind of immersed ourselves into the culture that was there and spent hours walking around the shuk. It's unbelievable when you run into somebody who has been on a trip on a different year and you can instantly connect with them. They shared so many of the same experiences that we shared, and we shared so many of the same experiences that the people on the trips before us shared. Ron and Pam, I just want to express my personal gratitude for the opportunity to participate in the 2010 Rubin Israel experience. It was truly an opportunity of my lifetime. There will never be another first trip to Israel, and I couldn't be more pleased to have participated in this trip with the people who were also on the trip with me. And on behalf of the entire 2010 Rubin Israel experience, I know that we all are forever changed and will forever be grateful to you all for the opportunity to participate. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve Lieberman, and I was lucky enough to be a participant in the 2011 Rubin Israel experience. Growing up Jewish for me meant being bar mitzvahed, being confirmed, and then after that, it didn't really mean a whole lot, other than going to services maybe once a month on Friday night. Israel meant, I don't want to say very little to me, but I didn't think about Israel very often. I think that everyone in our group got to have their individual experience, and I think everybody, for the most part, was real aware of everybody's space and experience. Wanted to make sure that everybody really got the most out of this. One experience that I remember, which really meant a lot to me and to our group, was when we got to go to the food pantry, and we got to see the work that this older gentleman does for his people, and hear his stories was amazing. And to see everyone in our group kind of take their place in the assembly line and make these meals for people that really needed it, made us all feel good. One experience for our group, our first time going into Jerusalem, right before we saw the wall, was our group got together and Amir told us the story about his bar mitzvah being at the wall. And he told us the historical significance of the wall, just in a small group, before we even got to see it. My personal experience at the wall was very important. When we were at the shuk in Jerusalem, I went into the synagogue there, and I wanted to make sure that I was prepared for being at the wall. So I asked the little old man who was the rabbi at the synagogue where the Shema was in a prayer book. And I went into the synagogue, I opened up the prayer book to the Shema, and I pretended like I was at the wall and I practiced saying the Shema. I wanted to know later in that day when I went to the wall and I touched the wall that I knew how to say the Shema the right way. Because my son had told me, when you touch the wall and you say a prayer, it should be the Shema and then step backwards from the wall. Before this trip, again, I didn't know a whole lot about Israel. I didn't understand the dynamics of the country and the people. Now that I've been there, it's just amazing how much I know and how much I can get engaged in conversations about Israel and how I think about every day, again, the people that I met, the places that I've been, how I can get into intelligent conversations with people and be a pro-Israeli person and talk about what Israel means to me now that I have a better understanding of it. But because of this trip, now I'm on the board of directors of CAGE, the Central Agency for Jewish Education, and I got to take part in the Israel Fellows Program. This week we had a guest speaker, Rabbi Stiffman, and he talked about the 9 types of Zionism. And I won't bore you with that, but something that I think is very important to everybody in our group is that I think there's a 10th kind now. Thanks to our philanthropists, the Rubins, I think there's a new kind called Rubinite Zionism. And I think they are the visionaries that have started this movement, and the 50+ people that have been on this trip will understand what Rubinite Zionism means. And to us, it's how we all now feel connected to Israel, to the Israeli people, and to our religion. As a member of the 2011 Rubin family, we would like to thank Ron and Pam Rubin for all their generosity in creating this program. You're true visionaries, and everyone in our group would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Hi, I'm Michelle Hoberman, and I am a proud member of the 2012 Rubin Israel experience. The best memories I have growing up are Hanukkah. I had very mixed ideas about Israel. It was a place I knew I needed to go, a place I knew I wanted to go. I didn't know it was safe to go there. I felt like it was a homeland to everybody, but I wasn't sure what I needed to do there or what my purpose was for going there. I got off the plane, and instead of going with the group down to the luggage, I walked by myself, which I'm a pretty social person. I was a little surprised by that. I wanted to just experience it on my own, just a little walk, and it was comforting. The man who started Project Lacket, such an amazing, genuine man, a religious man. And I had made a faux pas earlier in the trip and given a religious man a hug, which I so know better to do, and he took it very well. So I was on reserve the rest of the trip, and this man came up to me and gave me a hug. Being in Jerusalem was pretty incredible. Knowing that we were entering the city that every biblical character we've read about has walked and touched was it's pretty powerful. Ron and Pam, on behalf of the 2012 Reubenites, we are so very grateful for the opportunity that you have given us. We are so much better now because of the gifts and the knowledge that we have brought home with us from our Israel experience, and this is because of your generosity. And so thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts. We are truly grateful. We love you, and we are looking forward to sharing many mitzvot with you. Thank you.
I don't think it's an understatement to say that the Rubin Israel experience changed the course of my entire life. Because of this trip, I met my future brother-in-law, who introduced me to my now husband, and because of this trip, I'm now married and have I'm gonna cry.
Was my growing up Jewish okay?
The second one.
The second one was fine?
Got it.
Okay, so that was okay.
The first one was good. It just was.
No, that was terrible. It was. I was all over the. No, it was terrible. And I was all over the place. It was like writing. It was like writing a paper that went 10 places.
Ron and Pam, I just want to express my sincerest gratitude for the opportunity to participate in the 2010 Rubin experience, Israel experience. Ron and Pam.
Family, say it twice in a row.
You're okay. You're okay.
Keep doing this. As a member of the 2011 Rubin family, I'd like to thank Pam. Glad this isn't live.
This is the.
Ron and Pam.
It's okay.
This is the hardest.
That's all right.